education and career from a personal finance perspective. So let's talk about whether or not you should go to school. So we have a series of questions that you need to answer for yourself if you want to go to school. Either you want to go pursue your undergraduate degree, you might want to pursue another graduate degree, you might want to become a PhD, you might want to go to law school, you might want to go to med school, you might want to get your associate's degree, you might want to go to a computer science boot camp class. You might want to pick up a project management certification from lynda.com. So there's various ways that you could be going back to school, quote unquote, but these are the kind of the questions that you need to ask yourself from a personal finance perspective to see if it makes sense. So the first question is, why do you want to go to school? You need to understand the purpose of why you want to go to school. Is it because you want to become a lawyer? Okay, you're going to go get your law degree. You want to become a doctor? You have to go and get your medical degree. Do you think that, getting an undergraduate degree is just, par for the course? It's just normal. I have to go get an undergraduate degree. Everyone goes get an undergraduate degree. Do you want to get a certification in project management so you can further your career? You need to be crystal clear on your goals, whether in your mind it's because of societal pressures, it's because of just the reality of what you want to do work-wise. You have to go to school. You need to get crystal clear about why you even want to go to school in the first place. Is it because you just want to go to graduate school because you don't want to pay your student loans for undergrad? Be crystal clear about why. So next is, do you even like school? So there's an issue today in America where a lot of people are actually starting a degree and not finishing it. So think about someone starting their undergraduate degree and then dropping out, and then they incur those student loans and then they still have to pay them back, but they don't get the value of the degree. Then also think about someone that's in a PhD program, they're 3 years in and they realize that they cannot do 4 more years of it and then they drop out. So you could like school, but not like actually doing school too. So really kind of understand if you even like school and you really want to do it, right? Next is, how much time will you spend in school? So you could be spending a couple of weeks getting a certification. You could be spending 4 years getting undergrad. You could be spending 9 years getting a PhD, right? So you need to know how much time it's going to take you, because time is money, as they say. So the amount of time that you're foregoing earning a salary needs to be taken into account. Now, you could be, putting 9-10 years of work into school and then make $250,000 a year at the end, and you would say, oh, that's probably worth it, right? Next is, who's paying for school? Oh, this is a huge one. So, okay, you're expected to go to school because of societal pressures, right? It's just what people do. But your parents are paying for your whole entire undergraduate degree, and you know what? They're going to pay for your graduate degree too. Okay, cool. Oh, you have to go and pay for every single thing at school. You have to pay for tuition. You have to pay for room and board. Oh, your company is actually going to sponsor you. They're going to sponsor your MBA at the local university. Awesome. There's various ways you can pay for school, right? You could go and find scholarships. You could have your parental help. You could have your employer's help. You could be paying your own way. You could be taking out student loans. There's various ways that you can pay for school, but be crystal clear about how you're going to pay for it, because as we've already talked about in our net worth section about liabilities, student loans suck in that they cannot be just thrown away if you're in bankruptcy. So we want to make a smart financial decision if we're actually going to take on student loans for a certain type of degree. So next, think about how much does it cost. So that's tuition, that's fees, that's room and board, that's books, that's transportation, etc. So we want to know the dollar amount. We want to see that sticker. We want to know how much it costs, because if we have to pay for it or we have to get loans for it, we really need to think about how much it costs. Think about how much money you have now. So how much do you have in savings? So if you have to pay for all or up to all, or maybe even a little, maybe even your little spending during school, you're just going to pay for, say, your food at school, or you just pay for your rent. You need to know how much savings you have, because you have to pay for something. And oftentimes a lot of people work when they get education. But if you're not making enough money by working, or if you're not working, you want to have a nice little savings so that you can dip into that to cover those schooling expenses and just life expenses while you're in school. Next is, will you need to take out loans to fund school? So we've already kind of talked about this, but that's a huge consideration, right? If your parents are fine with paying for everything, or your grandparents, that's amazing. So for you, the decision's super easy. Just go to school. You need to still answer those questions. Do you even want to go to school? Do you even like school? Because you also need to really kind of think about how much time you're going to spend in school, and say, I might be foregoing 2 years to go to graduate school for a job that is going to be paying me very little. And maybe I should just go into another career and I could be making money for those 2 years and put that into my retirement account and end up better off. So you still need to kind of think about, even if you're not paying for it and you're not taking out loans, what it means, the opportunity cost, what it means for you to not just go into the workforce instead of school. So next is, do you know what job you want in the future? I think this is huge, and it's also very hard. It's a hard question, right? So a lot of people will say, well, they always say, okay, English majors and sociology majors and art degrees, they just like spend all this money on school and then they go out into the real world and they're not making any money. Okay, that might be true, but let's think about it. Let's say you're an art degree, but you want to work at Sotheby's art auction house. And you're going to climb that ladder, and you're going to go to New York City, and you're going to climb that ladder. And, at 30, you could be making $120,000. Well, that NYU art degree might be worth it, right? Go to Tisch, it might be worth it. So yes, some degrees might not seem as useful, but if you do have perspective about what job you want, it doesn't matter. Similarly, okay, you had a sociology degree, but you could easily go into a high income job like consulting, right? And easily be making 6 figures. So if you have kind of in mind what job you would like to do in the future, it's kind of helpful in terms of looking at the cost benefit analysis in terms of your finances. But I will admit, it's hard to necessarily know, probably at any age for everyone, what you exactly want to do. But if you do know, that will definitely help you on your decision. Next is, how much money do you expect to have in the future earnings? So if you know what job you would like to do, or kind of what industry you would like to be in, I think industry might be easier for someone to understand their feelings towards it. So you might know, okay, I want to be in publishing. I'm an English major. I've always loved English. And you know what? I love reading books. I want to go into publishing. So you need to go on Glassdoor, PayScale, any of those websites, and just look up some major corporations that you kind of know in publishing, for example, and see the average earnings for positions that you might be interested in, so that you have like a full understanding of what you're getting yourself into. So I would encourage you, say you're getting a master's in English and you're in your first year, it's summer break, you should be looking at jobs and their future earnings in the publishing sphere. so that you have the idea, oh God, this is what I'm getting myself into. I mean, you should have done it before you went into grad school, but having that knowledge even in the future will help you manage even debt payoff if you have to incur loans. So next is a super important question is, are your future earnings increased by going to school? So for a lot of people, yes, getting an undergraduate degree will increase your earnings. That's kind of a stated fact in general that college graduates have a higher income on average than, say, high school graduates. Right? They might incur a lot of debt, but eventually if they pay it off, in 10 years, they probably will be better off. But again, if you have to take out $200,000 in loans and you're barely making it because you're making 75 grand, that really, did your schooling really increase your future earnings that much, right? Could you have just gone to a community college and transferred to state school and incurred only 10 grand in debt and still gotten the $75,000 job? So you really need to understand, do I actually really need to get this type of master's or any type of education to increase my future earnings, right? Do I need to get that project management certification and spend maybe even $500 on it to, increase my future earnings? Will it do it? Probably for something like that, probably will. But you need to ask that question. And then lastly, is there a better alternative? And that's what I was kind of getting at before, right? So is it enough for you to just, be a sociology major in college, work your butt off, get some high paying consulting job and do that instead of maybe, and, doing interesting work there too, right? In the consulting business. Or should you go and become a PhD? You might not be in debt from your PhD. If you have a fully funded PhD, you might be maybe $20,000 in debt from your undergrad, but there might not be a lot of job prospects for you. So you're going to try to become like a sociology professor and it's really cutthroat. Maybe you should have just went for the cutthroat jobs in your undergrad and saved all those 6 years of time that you were getting your PhD, where you could have been making six figures every year for 6 years, right? Hopefully, or around that on average, right? So in that way, you need to kind of educate yourself about alternatives. You need to do your research about various career paths and just get deep into it, because oftentimes we don't know what the alternatives are. So we need to become a little mouse and scout out some cheese and figure out, is there a better alternative to what I'm doing or what I'm planning? So let's take a minute to define your financial goals. So let's imagine your life now, and now imagine the life you want to live. What is that lifestyle? How much money is it going to take to fund that life every year? That number is your annual financial income goal. So the reason I want you to go through this exercise is because sometimes we can flippantly just look at someone else's life and say, oh, that's the lifestyle they want. But if we're being honest with ourselves, we want a certain type of lifestyle and we expect a certain type of lifestyle. If the lifestyle you expect is that you want to, go on 3 international vacations a year, you want a vacation beach house, you want to send your kids to private school. If that's what's normal to you, that's fine, right? If it's normal to you to buy, a new car every 5 years, that's normal to you. Or to lease a new car, that's normal to you. Okay, that's all fine if you have the money for it. It doesn't matter what lifestyle you want if you have the money for it, right? Like, we don't bash like a billionaire for buying a new car every year. Why? Because he has the money, right? Or she has the money. So we need to actually be crystal clear too about what our lifestyle goals are, because if you're fine with just like, eating out several times a week, having an older car, like that's fine. And you know what? That is beautiful and that's fine. And that's all okay. Everything, any lifestyle choice you choose is okay. It's your choice, it's your life. But know what that is and then try to assign some dollar signs because the last thing we want to do is to be keeping up with the Joneses. We don't have the money for it. We're buying things on credit. If you want to go and get a Louis Vuitton purse every year, you need to have the Louis Vuitton money. So let's define your financial goal. So when we're thinking about even our education and what we should do about that, it coincides with the type of job that we would like, that will coincide with the type of lifestyle we would like.